A lot of people talk about how smartphone cameras are so good these days that you almost don't need a DSLR. And I don't dispute that. Their smartphone cameras are amazing and they're way beyond what smartphone cameras were in 2007. But pictures like this are a good reminder to me of why I still prefer an actual DSLR or mirrorless camera for for a certain type of photography. I don't want to say real photography because smartphones are just as real of cameras as anything else, but you can't get this photo with the smartphone. I'm going to explain why. This is a 50 millimeter shot, so it's a more constrained field of view than a smartphone. And what you're seeing here is the result of light and physics and optics working together. You've got this flower in the middle, and you can see it's backlit. So I forget what time of day it was, probably like 2 p.m. when I shot this. And so the sun is lighting this flower from the back. I'm using a really wide aperture, f1.8. And what that's doing is blurring the foreground and blurring the background, but not just blurring like you see on a smartphone. And that's what a lot of portrait mode pictures on smartphones do, where they kind of outline, they pick out the shape of a human head or some other subject like a pet, like a cat or dog, and they decide what should be blurry and what should not be blurry, and they kind of outline that shape, that head shape, and blur everything else. And they'll apply different levels of blur depending on how far back it thinks the background is. But you'll end up with a portrait mode photo where the subject is in sharp, but it's almost like this uniform sharpness where the entire human head is in focus and then everything else is blurry. And there's no gradual fall off like you get on when you're actually using light and physics to make that effect. And you also don't get what you see here on the top left side. So as I'm taking this picture of this flower, I got the foreground in focus. I'm shooting at f1.8, no filters, no close-up filters. And I noticed that there's cars going behind the scene on the street. And I specifically waited for one of the cars that I saw at the stoplight to start moving. And as it was moving, I fired off a burst of shots. And the reflection of the sun on I think it was probably the dashboard or maybe the driver's mirror or something, is what caused those giant blurry bokeh balls on the top left-hand side of the frame. That is a result of the light meeting the lens, getting focused in the lens, or in this case, not focused, and ending up in the image sensor. This is light and physics. It's not a computer trying to figure out what should and shouldn't be blurry. It's actual depth of field where the subject is in focus and the background gets progressively more and more out of focus. And then you get these beautiful artifacts in the way background where sources of light are extremely circular and super blurred out. It's this really cool effect that you cannot get it with a smartphone. And I'm not saying smartphones are bad. If you got a smartphone, that's your camera, use it all the time. Take it out right now and start taking pictures. But there's still a place for a dedicated camera. And if you know how to operate that camera and make it do what you want, then you can get photos like this that you really can't get any other way.